Hello and welcome once again, friends, to Level 1 Adventuring. Before I get into the whole spiel, I'm going to put my computer on performance mode. Perfect! Hello and welcome to Level 1 Adventuring. We'll take that again. I am your host and Dungeon Master, MC, Game Master, etc., etc., Wolfe Scott. What is Level 1 Adventuring? If you have never stumbled across our channel before, well, first of all, thank you for being here. We are largely a tabletop role-playing game-based content platform. We make Twitch streams, YouTube videos, I post Homebrew, mostly 5e content on platforms like our Twitter. So if you like role-playing games, you like tabletop games, you're in the right spot. If you dig like big group long-form games, such as D&D, we have a campaign that runs normally on Wednesday nights like tonight, although we had to switch things up today. And then we also run smaller, more intimate indie solo RPG kind of projects, which is more along the lines of what we're going to do today. So, and we also play some digital RPGs like Celesta. You got a lot to see. If you are behind on any of our series, all the episodes are uploaded to YouTube. You can catch the new episodes here. And if you want to keep up to date with us, follow us on Twitter, follow us on the Disco, join the Discord. We post a bunch of memes, we post updates, and it will be a play-by-post soon for D&D, so we'd love to have you there. Big shout out to all my usual shoutouts: Tabletop Audio for the music that you're hearing, StreamLabs and StreamSpell for all the digital visual effects, and our AI chatbot companion for entertaining our group here. We have links to all that down below if you'd like to use it for your own streams and upgrade yourself and help us out. So that's kind of the deal there. But what are we doing tonight? Well, if you were here yesterday, you're going to be very familiar with what we were up to, because we're going to be continuing our playthrough. I know it's the most consistent solo playthrough that we've had in a little while, which is Tale of the Burned Stones by farirpgs. Oh, hey, Fleetwood! Good to see you on chat, as always. I'm going to scroll up from where we were previously so I can show everyone this beautiful, beautiful rule book, and I'm going to go to my solo stream tab. Perfecto. Tale of the Burned Stones by farirpgs. So, what is Tales of the Burned Stones? It is a lot of things. It is a free release, which is coming out this summer by the independent publisher farirpgs, written by RPD, who is a friend of the channel. They've written other games that we've played and very much enjoyed, such as our ongoing Firelights playthrough. And Tales of the Burned Stones, in particular, is actually a prequel game to a game that they already have going on called STONEBURNER. Whereas in STONEBURNER, you play a bunch of dwarves who are in space and trying to settle demon-infested asteroids. And in Tales of the Burned Stones, you play those same, the descendants of those people, at least I am in my playthrough, a dwarf who's surviving a cataclysmic event in the dwarf holds in which demons have risen up from the underworld and are now, taking control of the mortal plane. So it all loops back into each other. It's free, it's solo friendly, so you can play this game with friends, but you can also play it by yourself, which is what I'm doing tonight. And it also works off of farirpg's Breathless system, which a couple other games I believe they've developed runs under as well, and the game is open licensed. So if you want to tinker with it yourself, you are more than welcome to do so when this comes out. All of that information is linked on our Twitch chat, and will also be linked on our YouTube when it goes live, so you can definitely find it if you need to find it, or any of Fari's games, because they're all great. But what are we doing today? We're picking up where we left off from session 1 yesterday, so we're still very new here, so if you have missed anything, you're not that far behind. And in fact, if I did my homework correctly, I should have a new little feature set up where if we hit the ! Catch-up command, I'm gonna click the button to see if it works. Boom. Hey, look at that. You can post a recap of what happened in the last session. That's pretty neat. Aren't I proud of me? But yeah, to give you a rough idea of what happened, if you are not able to read chat, Duragrim, who's our hero, who I will show everyone here. So this is Duragrim Felldeep. Duragrim is an ancient dwarf, was around during the times of the height of the Dwarven Empire, when everything was grand and good, and and none were were assailed by demons, was unfortunately exiled from his lands. They were usurped by his brother, who was once a noble, which exiled him to the surface. And unfortunately, although that did leave him far away from his family, whom he dearly loved, it did fortunately put him far enough away from the mountains of the dwarves when the demons arose from the dwarves digging too greedily and too deep. And unfortunately, his family did not survive. And as hard as Duragrim had tried to go find his family, he also fell prey to the monsters on the surface. However, that would not be the end of Duragrim's unnatural life, as he was then found by a cabal of dwarven witches known as the Sisters of the Eclipse. They were once thought of to be like a doomsday kind of cult. They talked about fire and brimstone, and no one believed them. But their prophecies came true, and after they came true, they started strategically resurrecting individuals that they thought would be of worth and merit for their unknowable ends. And they chose to resurrect Duragrim. So this is why Duragrim has this sort of strange cobalt blue complexion, these black eyes. These are all side effects of his unnatural resurrection. Duragrim is what is known as a remnant in this world now. So a remnant of the old times and a remnant of life in general. Sort of this what's the word? Not wraith, not specter. Revenant, this like revenant state, right? Where he's clinging to life because of revenge and sort of unfinished business. But the world now is this flaming hellscape. It's this, actually, I did a little lore building for the pictures, right? Yeah, here they are. So you can see the dwarf holds now, all credit to the artist, by the way, for all these images, have been swallowed in fire and ash since the rise of the demons and the fracturing of Mount Baram. And so the world is a very different place now. Duragrim has a couple of special abilities now that he has been reborn. Well, first of all, he's pretty good at killing demons. His body is pretty resistant to hellfire and other sort of nefarious demonic influences. He can't die, which is pretty sick. But when he does get felled in battle, he's resurrected, but he's a little less himself. Portions of him go missing, right? Which is very the sort of struggle he's maintaining now, considering he's already outlived all of his relatives, his friends. So all he really has are those memories, which he can lose. And the remnants also have been given some little magical inferences from the witches. They know how to brew potions and elixirs and concoctions. And they are very apt at making a very particular type of potion known as the Farsight potion, which allows them to perceive things on the spiritual plane and also makes their senses higher. They can see things almost in slow motion, makes them very hard to battle in combat. Which leads us sort of into where our actual story began, because last night, because this game is completely solo, well, it can be completely solo, they have a bunch of wonderful tables written to help seed your adventure, right? And so I rolled a random event for our first quest sort of thing here, and it was attacked by friends on a hill, which is an eerie hill, which is a strange way to start, but I like the in media res of it all, you know? Essentially what we learned was that Duragrim was helping a group of dwarven scavengers claim some old treasure from a nearby ruin. And as they were overlooking the ruins from a hillside, the scavengers decided to turn on Duragrim because Duragrim gave up all of his coin to the scavengers in return of one sort of historical artifact from the dig. He wanted to keep this artifact because it had sentimental value to him. From his time being alive during that age. But unfortunately, the scavengers were not pleased with letting him walk away with such a treasure, and they tried to shake him down. Duragrim scared off most of the thugs, except for the head honcho, the big leader, who did not want to part ways, and so a battle ensued. A quick and bloody battle. I did not expect to almost get KO'd, like get reduced to 2 HP from just a bandit, which makes me very afraid for the fights coming up. But I mean, we'll see how it happens. But essentially, through our determination, our Farsight potion, and our raw strength, we managed to outmaneuver the bandit, and we managed to hold them aloft above the cliffside, overlooking the ruins below. And although they begged for their lives, we were not so accommodating, and we tossed them off the edge of the cliff. They fell to their doom, swallowed by darkness. The end of that bandit, and then the rest we sort of scared off. We told them to buzz off. They can keep their coin, but if they wanted their lives, they were going to turn tail. And they were very happy to oblige us after, you know, we murdered their leader in cold blood. So that after that, Duragrim needed a rest because the health was low, and so went to a nearby sort of a forsaken building from this old village, watchtower, stone watchtower, and set up camp. But unfortunately, as is Duragrim's cursed life, he was not left alone for very long as the campfire grew dim and cold, and 3 shadowy figures manifested at the edge of his campsite. 3 dwarven witches, sisters of the eclipse, who appeared to Duragrim and sort of was teasing him and talking a little bit about his choices and his willingness to steal life. But at the end, towards the end of our session, their conversation inferred to Duragrim that they had a new mission for him. Duragrim is indebted to these witches magically due to the resurrection, so he has very little to say over what they would like him to do when they appear. And apparently, the witches have uncovered a magical artifact of some import that they are hoping to have Duragrim recover for them. So that's where we left off on our last session. It was a very eventful session, a lot of lore, a lot of good stuff being developed early on, which I'm very happy about. Which kind of takes us to where we are here. So make sure I reset everything. Oh, I didn't choose a new dream of glory for myself. But you know, I'm gonna make one right now because I kind of know in what direction the story is gonna go. So I'm gonna say recover a dwarven artifact. So if this is the artifact that they have tasked us with, then great. That's the whole point of the adventure. But if we happen to uncover another artifact before then we'll get another little early bonus level up, which, you know, I would not be mad about. All right, so where are we at right now in the fiction? Duragrim is sitting in his camp. The firelight is low. There's a cold stir, bristling the back of his cobalt blue flesh. And the witches appear. They begin speaking to him. They're chastising him, and they say, Duragrim. I think our last session I said something along the lines, we have like a magic item of import that we need you to locate. And to this, Duragrim raises his eyes and narrows them at the witches across. And I think there's this sort of... there's this innate supernatural sense that when the witches are nearby, he's really not fully himself, you know? He is indebted to them. His body is resurrected by their will. And so I think when they are near him, even though he has full, control of his faculties, his mind, there is sort of like a heaviness in his heart, that sort of numbs his limbs, almost like he feels as though he's being shackled, even though there are no tangible chains. There is a very real sense that he is bound to them, and even if he would want to make a decision against the witches, I do not know, especially with them being so close, I do not know if their influence could be resisted, by Duragrim, given his resurrected state. And so when they come to him and they ask him to partake in this task, and they manifest before him, and that weight, washes over his figure, there is sort of this hollow breath that escapes him. I don't know why you bother asking. You already know. I'm fated to say yes. And you can see, you can't see, but you almost feel, maybe from the firelight, you can almost see the glimmer of their teeth as like soft smiles and smirks paint across their faces.
Aye, Duragrim, but it would not be very kind if we were not to offer, no? Not at all. Oh, a shame.
You know, the others say, like, around him in this, like, echoing way.
You toy with me, witches. Just say what you've come to say, and be gone with ye.
Duragrim,
one says as you know, she draws near to the fire. Once again, no footsteps, right? Just the edges of her dark bluish cloak dragging against the stone. There's no sound of her body moving as she levitates closer.
that is no way to speak of your saviors, is it? All we've ever done is done in service of your higher purpose, your greater goals, your goals, your goals.
You know, the witches echo. And to this, Duragrim slams one meaty fist down on the stones as he's seated beneath the fire, as he takes sort of a defiant step upward.
My purpose was to defend my family, was to die defending their honor. And you took that from me. You brought me back. I should be with them. I should be.
And then, like, as he's yelling, I think one of the witches, the lead witch, just, like, holds their hand upward. And to that, I think Duragrim feels, you know, that pressure once again wash over him, and he can feel his jaw beginning to tightly clench as he's being almost compelled not to rebel against the Sisters of the Eclipse.
Duragrim, a man of your capabilities, of your passion, was not meant to die so needlessly. You have a gift, Duragrim, a gift that your realm, that Hazundrol, the blood of old Baram, it is in need of, Duragrim. And we are giving you this chance to make good on it. Make good on your gifts to all.
And Duragrim just, you know, muscles flexing, teeth gritting. He knows that he would wish to rile even more against their hold, but I imagine in the hundreds of years that he has continued to persist beyond the cataclysm, he knows how this goes. He can rile, he can rage, but at the end of the day, he is beholden to their whims. And so the balled up fists begin to loosen. His shoulders that were once tight begin to fall as he bows his head regrettably, you know, and submissively to the witches.
What is it that you seek?
He, like, finally manages to choke out.
Agreeable, Duragrim, very agreeable, thank you. Now come, sisters,
as the lead witch says, as she extends her arms, and the other two do the same as they float over. And they sort of form this semicircle around the fire, with Duragrim being the sort of fourth piece of the ring, right? Although he is not necessarily participating in the ritual of it all, but he makes the shape, finishes the shape. And the fire that was once low, burning low, before him because of the witch's sort of oppressive spiritual presence, begins to shift and dance in a new way. And the red fire, the orangish red fire, takes on a different color, takes on a bluish gray, right? The same colors that Duragrim perceives the world when he takes his Farsight potion, right? How the fiery orange wash of the burned landscape kind of disappears, and he can see into that spiritual side of things. That is sort of the color that the fire turns, and that is the color that the fire now emanates around the space of his makeshift camp. As, you know, they begin to wave their hands around the fire and whisper in ancient dwarven tongue, Uraxikana itu shurusu. You know, they're doing their whole spiritual progression here. And I think in that moment, the fire sort of like leaps upward and creates kind of this circular circular panel, like in midair, almost like you're looking through a ring, or looking into like a reflecting pool of flame, like a scrying pool. And the witches are able to paint, sort of tangible, visible images on this screen of levitating fire before their dutiful servant, right? And the fire begins to paint a picture of Hazunrol as it stands now, a blighted, war-torn, hellish, desolate wasteland. But then it almost like begins to spin time back slowly before Duragrim's very eyes, and he begins to see life return to the land. He sees the buildings reconstruct in real time. He sees the glorious, carvings of the dwarf lords and the empowered stone and the hammering of metal. It all returns. The sky becomes blue. The sun is now stained gold instead of red. And we sort of follow this image of the landscape being transformed as it grows nearer and nearer towards Mount Baram, which is of course, the volcano that erupted, which caused all of the chaos that we now know. And Duragrim's eyes narrow.
To the Mount Baram? Impossible. Impossible for one, even such as I. The land is rife with demons, with hell spawn. I can fight many, it's true, but to survive a delve into those depths, it is impossible.
But what would one risk if what was to be gained could change the course of Hazunrol's destiny?
And to that, Duragrim raises a shaggy eyebrow.
Speak on.
And we're watching sort of like this aerial view of the land, this like scrying sensor into the past, as it heads towards the mountain and then pierces through the rock, right? And you can see it like tunneling through the earth and the stone for a moment until it reappears on the other side within the mountain. And this is like the dwarven undercity, right? This is Hazunrol, the capital of the Dominion. This is where the dwarves are at their most powerful. And sort of speeding around at a lightning pace, weaving through dwarves, forging ancient wonders and reveling in their mead halls and lavish with gold and treasure and gems from beneath the crust of the earth. We sort of zoom all the way through there until we find one particular keep, which has been hewn out of the rock. To this, Duragrim, I couldn't remember my character's name for a moment, sort of eyes widens a moment.
Aye. Is that?
Yes, Duragrim. You recognize it well. The bastion of Broldha.
And we sort of zoom into the bastion, and here we see one of the epicenters of like the height of dwarven craft, right? Especially of the work of enchantment. And we can see these ancient runesmiths who would carve these symbols of power and speak into them, foundational magics of the world into these wonders. We see them working very diligently, forging, relics of great power that were lost to time. And we see a particular dwarven rune crafter, a woman, fair, fire red hair, a big square jaw, freckled face, with like two really long sideburns that like fall down into big braided sort of like strands at either side, and the rest of her hair is sort of bound in this like endless wheel of braids behind the back of her head, with like a very imperious dwarven crown, big square chunk of ornate metal across her brow. This, of course, is Broldha. And Brolta is hammering. We see her back, right? And she is striking with this grand, glorious golden hammer etched in runes itself as she's speaking these old words into the stone. Ting, ting, you know, every hammer strike, there's a flash of light as magic is imbued into what she is crafting. And when she sort of turns around and faces the camera, if you will, right, where we can perceive time through the sensor given to us by the witches, we see her holding a rather understated, but perhaps very influential item. So I rolled on my lore building, I rolled on the table. There is actually a table for magical artifacts here. I wonder if I can show it to chat. Oh wait, that's the player's cheat sheet. This is the one we want. Is it under artifacts or is it under relic? It's under one of those keywords, one of those fancy keywords. There we go. Oh, wait, 53? 53? 53? There we go. We see this wonderful table here, which allows you to help build some items, right, for your adventures. And I rolled the quest, the lore building, the artifact right here, the Ring of Control, right? So what we see is this golden ring, which has dwarven runes sort of etched across of it, and in the center, there is sort of this massive ruby, which is burning with kind of like an ember, a reddish-orange ember burning at its center, and you can almost feel the heat radiating off of this ring. This is what history would have once remembered as the Burning Band of Brolta. And it is a magical ring, which was forged by dwarven runesmiths, specifically Brolta herself, which allows the wearer to exert psychic dominance and control over Hellspawn, right? So this was sort of, we almost can see the history play out in our minds. You know, the dwarves had begun digging down into Mount Baram, and the Eclipse, the Sisters of the Eclipse were warning the dwarves that darkness would come, that this would only lead to disaster, but the dwarves kept finding more riches, more resources, more veins of old magic to plumb and create their ideal world. And so even when they started encountering some demonic resistance, they were not deterred. You know, it was a manageable level of threat. The lives they were losing were not comparable to the riches and the advancements that were promised, right, from their continued excavations. So instead of stopping, why not use the magic and the resources that we're finding to create something to help us against these fringe defenders, these minor incursions of Hellspawn? And so that was the invention of Brolta, the Burning Band of Brolta. It would be a ring that would allow the wearer to, if there were a demon spawn that would appear, simply channel the strength of the Burning Band, and suddenly it bows to you. It does your bidding. It will fight against its brothers. It will banish itself from existence. You know, it was to be their answer, or at least one of their answers. But rather unfortunately, rather developed far too late, or perhaps not able to be replicated, you know, to the extent that they needed it to be. Mount Baram was still cracked open wide. The Hellspawn emerged. The Burning Band was not able to be their salvation. And then the artifact, as powerful and as what's the word? Oh, valuable as it was lost to time. And seeing all of this and remembering, you know, hearing these rumors, even exiled to the surface, you know, all those years ago, Duragrim shakes his head. I thought ye mad, but now I know. I've heard of this burning band, this answer to the Hellspawn below.
It did not save Mount Baram at its height. What makes ye think it shall save us now that we are already forlorn and forsaken against these demon spawn?
And the witches who are sort of in this sort of rapturous state, you know, holding out their arms wide, whispering magic to make this image appear, then, like, look back down at Duragrim, and the fire winks out and sort of dissipates its bluish spiritual pallor and becomes that low ember light once again.
Because, Duragrim, Brolda was able to create such a wonder, but she was not able to leverage it as we know we can. We are the Sisters of the Eclipse. We speak the old magics far deeper, far stronger than any before us, or thereafter, and after. We can study this ring. We can understand it. We can unravel what has made it and reforge it into something new, something stronger, something that can save Hazun Ro.
And as that washes over Duragrim, there's sort of an accusatory glare that cuts across his eye.
Or you can take it for yourselves.
My Duragrim, that rage inside your heart, it draws you to strange conclusions. All we have done has been to preserve the glory of Hazun Ro, to bring it back, to bring you back, was in an effort of this. We care nothing but for the sanctity of our home, as you do, and the burning band will ensure that rise once again. But it can only be done if you help us claim it.
So you wish to claim its power, but you're too frightened to dig down in the dirt yourselves. You would rather risk your toys than to toil yourself.
And once again, they offer more curious head nods and simple smiles.
Duragrim, this is why you were made. To resist their flames. To see beyond what mortals can see. You are the perfect weapon against their hordes. It is you and others like you that are destined for this task. It must be you.
And Duragrim, there's a part of him, of course, who is conflicted. He's never really trusted the witches. He does not like the feeling of being manipulated or controlled, and he doesn't trust them. No one trusted them even before the downfall of Hazun Ro. And ever since, I mean, sure, it's not like they're a world power or anything, but, I mean, they survived the cataclysm, and now they're making plays for objects like this. It brings into question a lot. But unfortunately, Duragrim is not in the position to deny them, and he is well aware of that. Excuse me. And to that, Duragrim finally sort of relents his final bit of resistance.
You've given me what I must find. Now tell me, where do I find it?
And to that, one of the witches slowly, actually, we'll say all three of them. They sort of levitate towards Duragrim, and he's sort of looking around them, sort of confusedly. He has both of his hands on his axe gun. He's feeling a little. He's never quite to at ease when they approach him in such a way. And then once again, one of the witches just sort of like lays her hand downward in this very sort of gentle gesture and says, "Please, Duragrim." But to Duragrim, it doesn't feel quite so gentle. Like, he feels like a gravitational tug on his knees that sort of bends him down into this sort of like kneeling, this knight-like kneel, you know, before them.
Simply open your mind and accept this task.
As they all three, like, in unison, like, reach forward. This task. And they place each a hand at, on, like, the crest of his bald, you know, blue head. And suddenly there is a wave of energy that sort of pulses through him, through his mind. His eyes crack open, and they are exuding that same white, misty glaze that they normally have whenever he drinks one of his Farsight potions, but he's sort of being given the gift of Farsight by his witch, you know, progenitors in this moment. And in that same way that we sort of saw of the landscape of the land, we sort of see a rough map. We sort of have this path that is carved from the ruins across the burned landscape, far down towards Mount Baraman 2, where one... well, let's see. We have a location generator, right? So why not let the game tell us where we are to go? I like that. Locations, yeah. Let me grab my rolls. Okay, so we'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for which one we're gonna draw here. So we're gonna go 5, 6. We're gonna go 12. We got a 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. A celestial. Interesting. So celestial, I'm hearing like temple, but let's see. Okay, and then we're gonna go to 12, 10, ruins. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Okay, so we're gonna go to the quest, and we're gonna add a page. So we have to go to a celestial. Wow, I cannot type. Celestial ruin. So here, I'm hearing, like, temple of some kind. And, which is, you know, very Diablo, right? Like a celestial temple which has been corrupted by demonic influence. I'm seeing, like, you know, this massive dwarven church almost that has, like, you can see there are, like, celestial ruins sound so magical. I know, right? Like, there's got to be something cool in there. Well, I mean, we know at least that is the path down to Brold Husband. But yeah, you get the, you know, like you can almost see like the fire burning from out beneath all of the would-be windows, right? Like the holes in the stone. You get almost like something is there breathing deeply, and there's like a flame and a smoke puffing in and out with their breath. And, you know, we see that it's sort of like partially sunken into the earth, right? Because the demons came up from underground. So the foundation of the temple, which is partially collapsed, is like falling halfway through the sinkhole, which of course will burrow down deep into the earth and lead us into the tunnels of Mount Baram, presumably on the path to Broldha's Bastion, where the ring stands, which I'm going to add that as a location too. So Broldha's Bastion, that is where the ring is kept. And so we have all of that information rather forcibly driven into our skull, unfortunately. And I think Duragrim 2 struggles against it, you know, sort of like, you know, as like the magic is like cracking through his brain. And finally they release his head as his eyes once again darken into their normal pools of blackness, and he, you know, sort of wakes up from the experience as they drift backward.
You have been given your mission, and you have been shown the way. The only thing now left for you to do is to set upon the path.
And Duragrim is sort of still shaking a little bit from the experience, his mind reeling from from that assault, and then nods his head a few times.
If this is what I must do to fulfill this dark bargain you've cast upon my soul, sisters, then so be it.
And sort of like turns away from the witches for a moment until the one sort of raises her hand, and once again he sort of stops in mid march back towards, like, away from them, back towards where his campfire is. And she slowly, like, turns her hand as if, like, saying, like wanting him to whisper or speak something to her, but it actually forces his body to, like, turn, right? Like, to face her again, somewhat against his will, as he stands before her now.
Duragrim, darling, are you not forgetting something?
And to this, Duragrim cuts his glance down towards the satchel that he had claimed from the bandits earlier, that golden disc depicting the ancient dwarven armies defending their homes against invaders. And we see once again the chest, the sort of falling over Duragrim.
I suppose I am.
As she sort of releases her hand in freeing his body, as he walks over towards the satchel, and he pulls it out of the leathers and unveils the disc, and he looks in it, and he looks at his reflection in it for a moment, and he sees his face scarred, cold, blue, and gray, a far cry from the person that once gazed upon a similar relic, a similar art, in his past. And, like, from behind his reflection, he can see the witches sort of waiting patiently.
Must ye always take them? The relics I find. Can I not keep an eye on them, a hand close, to remember that which I've lost?
And to this, the witches once again sort of curiously tilt their heads.
But Duragrim, where would you keep such things? You wander, you march, you are in service. You have no hearth, no home to rest your head, to hang your trophies. They are best kept with us, where they will be preserved, where they will be safe, where they will be safe, safe indeed.
The witches echo. And Duragrim hangs his head, taking one long last look at the relic.
So you say, and so I must believe.
And Duragrim then dutifully walks over to the witches, holds out the disc, which she takes with a gracious nod of her head, and holds it against her breast, sort of clutching it longingly. And they all sort of smile as they look at this treasure that has been recovered.
Your services, Duragrim, are not to be forgotten. You think this existence a curse, but you will be rewarded once the sisters have finally expunged Hazun Roll of the darkness that has befallen it. This we promise you. We promise you, a promise is made.
And Duragrim sort of ties the satchel, the empty satchel, back to his waist.
I don't know how far I can trust the promises you sling, but that is not something for me to rue about now, is it?
No, Duragrim, it is not.
As they begin to, like, slowly draw back from the campfire, like the shadows taking their forms, and as they draw ever backward, the campfire begins to grow once again in strength as their presence sort of is leaving the area, and you can hear them sort of chanting, almost echoing once again that sentiment before.
You've been given the task, you've been given the way. Now march, now march, now march, now march. Been given the task, given the way. Now march, now march, now march.
You know, just sort of like leaving the space as there's sort of another cold wind that rolls through the camp, and just as quickly as they've come, the witches feel as though they have disappeared. And so now Duragrim is left alone in the camp with his new duty, his new solemn task. He must collect the band of Brolta from beneath the ruins of the ancient dwarven temple, and he must survive, presumably. I mean, he can't die, but, you know, without losing a piece of himself. Left alone to his own devices now, and needing the rest and the strength to forge ahead for the night oncoming, I think Duragrim will make himself... I don't think Duragrim longs much for mortal comforts. He probably just takes his cloak, you know, his cloak and the furred shawl atop of it, and spins it around so it can act as a makeshift blanket, and he just sort of curls himself into a tight ball at the edge of one of the stoned precipices of the watchtower, with his axe gun clutched jealously across his chest in case anything foul should try to accost him in the middle of the night. And I think he takes a rest. So we already kind of started the rest portion from last game, but I do actually want to, what's the word? Reiterate a portion of our story that we chose in the lore building stage, because we took a sip of our potion to help us win our battle against the bandit. But as we have learned from the choose your own adventure section, with each drink of our potions, we relinquish a memory, a fleeting moment of joy replaced by a desolate and hollow void. So we have to forgo a memory, and I think they leave us in our sleep, right? So what is... I'm going to say... We're going to roll us on the spark table to see what memory we lose. So we're going to roll 2d6s. We got a 1 and a 5. A death memory. A memory of death. Interesting. A happy memory of death. Maybe if I roll on this table, it'll also give us a little extra. 5 and 5. We got 5. We got 5. Explore death. Interesting. A happy memory, exploring death. I think as sleep takes... Oh, goodness. My cat has jumped on top of... I don't know if you can see from here. My cat has jumped on top of my... my little drink cabinet over there. She feels feisty enough to do that sometimes, even though it's probably not. I don't know. She hasn't knocked anything over yet, but like, you know, that's not a forever constant. We'll see. Anyway, I think what we see is we're asleep, and we are dreaming. We're dreaming of our past. And we are actually watching the funeral of our father, is what we are seeing. It is a grand procession. You know, I imagine that dwarven coffins are kind of like sarcophagi. Like they're carved of stone, and they are formed in the likeness of those who are within them, right? And Duragrim was born a noble, so his father, you know, presumably had a very high station in life, so it's a very sort of kingly depiction. And there are these, for lack of a better term, they're like pallbearers, right, who are bearing the coffin, and Duragrim is likely one, and his brother who betrayed him, Jesus, Graklim, they're probably leading, you know, the head of the procession. And there are, I imagine it's sort of like this long metal and stone bridge that is overlooking this just gaping hole in the world, right? This is underground. And this ancient hole, which is so deep that no dwarves have ever reached the center, right? Anyone who's ever tried to explore it has never returned. And so it is sort of like this ancient dwarven, I don't want to say folktale, but like religious belief that like this hole leads to the very center of existence, you know, because their livelihood, their entire culture revolves around stone and steel and the dark places of the world. And so if no one has ever seen this place, it is likely that it either does not have an end and thus is everywhere, or it is the center of the sort of foundation of their existence. And so it becomes this like ritual where those who die, especially those who are very important, are brought here, and their like tombs, you know, their sarcophagi are blessed. And, you know, there's probably like ancient, you know, dwarven words being spoken by like a high priestess and like a high priest nearby. And eventually the caskets, the sarcophagi, are thrown like into the depths. You know, they're sort of returned to the stone, if you will. They are dropped into this void, this dark void. And their belief is that they are then brought back to where all the stones, you know, where their souls will be reforged in the center of the earth and returned back as rock and steel, and precious things that will continue to serve their forebears in the future, right? That will become parts of the keeps and the battlements and the weapons that will serve their kin in the future. And so I think there's, you know, we see the funeral happen. We see Duragrim and Graklim, you know, carry the casket and relinquish their father's body. They throw the sarcophagus into the stones. And then we sort of return to Duragrim's keep. You know, this is after the funeral. He's still wearing his ceremonial armor. He's still wearing the mourning blacks that he would be wearing to honor the death of his father. And he's staring into a hearth. Speaking of a place where he never had a hearth and where trophies are now, you know, he could claim them. This is like the opposite. This is him living at like the height of his mortal power. You know, he has like this very accommodating, lavish hold, and he's staring at like a warm burning hearth, and he's by himself, and he is like sort of just contemplating mortality and his father and him and his relationship and his brother. And there's, you know, a lot happens when you lose someone important to you, right? And we hear sort of the ancient stone doors, you know, swing open, creak open slowly, I should say. And then, you know, from behind you hear like, "Daddy!" And like you turn around and there's this tiny, you know, well, actually, I don't know. What would I actually never thought of what Duragrim's like wife and daughter would look like. I'm wondering if I could find like just like a quick sort of, because I don't think there's a lot of generators on the document, but I don't think there's one for like, and oh wait, there's I think there is actually a descriptor. Am I wrong? Let's see. I know it's towards character creation. Oh yeah. Cool. Let's try it. So we'll say 5 classy, all right, and 9 delicate. Aw. Okay. So I see this tiny dwarven girl. I'm gonna choose her as the delicate, right? She's a little scrawny for her age. Most dwarves are really like stocky and strong, and they have like wide square builds, very much like Duragrim. She's like a little scragglier. She's a little ganglier. She hasn't grown into her feet or her hands yet, you know. But she still has like the square features of her father. And she has her hair sort of pulled into like two thick knots that kind of stick out on either side, like kind of like pigtails, but it's more like if Princess Leia had the buns like up here, you know? And she bursts into the room, it's like, Daddy, Daddy, and like runs over. And then that's Throry, that's his daughter. And then Thrilrain, his wife, you know, she's the classy one, right? She is the wife of a lord. She carries with her a regal bearing. She has this long flowing hair that has like a couple of, you know, thick plaits and braids sort of woven throughout it, but mostly it hangs loose. And we'll say that she has, she sort of has like a little like soul patch, right? But it is sort of woven into like a tiny little braid that maybe hangs like down to like towards where her neck is. And, you know, obviously dressed with grand bands. And she sort of sweeps over to him in her very elegant way and says,
Aye, Throry, be careful, be gentle. Your father's had a long day.
And, you know, Throry's like practically trying to like climb Duragrim and like claw up his leg, and he laughs and says,
It's fine, Thrilrain, it's fine. Come here, you little pebble, he says,
as he grabs Throry like under the arms and like puts her on his knee as they're like watching the fire. And Thrilrain, you know, puts a hand on Duragrim's shoulder and sort of gives him that knowing look, you know, and she says,
You did a very good job at the funeral today. You held yourself high. You remained strong in front of our allies, in front of the friends of your fathers, the other lords and ladies and lairds. You did well.
And then Duragrim nods solemnly.
Aye, it was for his memory. He was a good man. We weren't always close. He was a hard man. You remember.
Aye, I do.
But he did much for our name and our blood. And I only hope to keep his memory alive in the ages to come.
And to that she like, you know, smiles and sort of reaches behind her, and there is like a leather cylinder, right, that has these big clasps of steel on either side, as she sort of approaches, sort of like hands it over Duragrim, since he is sitting, you know, down with Rory, and says,
He was a hard man, but he did care for you, even if he couldn't show it as much as he would like. Here.
And then, you know, she hands him the thing, and he looks at it kind of confusedly, and he says,
What be this?
It's your father's last will and testament. It was delivered not but a few moments ago while you were in the parlor. I wish not to disturb you.
And so, like, then Duragrim begins to unravel the scroll and read it, and I think through it, you know, we see Duragrim reading the last words of his father, and I think they are sort of words that Duragrim never got to hear from his dad. You know, like, yes, Duragrim, I was hard on you, but I felt I had to be because I wanted you to be, you know, the lord I never was. I wanted you to not make the mistakes that I had made, and maybe you did not deserve, you know, the harshness that I gave you, but know that I did it out of love, and that I did it out of respect, and, you know, all these things that he would have died to hear, you know, his father say while he still drew breath, but now he can only have it in sort of this this form. And even though this is still not what would have, it's not preferable, you know, it's better than never having it. You know what I mean? It still takes off of him such a weight to have those words, to even imagine his father saying those words, you know? And I think there's like a bit of a tear that wells up in Duragrim's eye that begins to like roll down his cheek. And Throry sees it on his lap and like gently reaches up and like wipes the tear away. And Thrilrain puts both of her hands on Duragrim's shoulders and sort of pulls him into an embrace from behind, you know, like leans her head atop like the crown of his head, as Duragrim like holds Throry close. And they just share this like moment where Duragrim is able to just cry a little bit, honestly, just like release a bit of emotion that he's normally not able to do, that he's not able to release in front of people because he has to maintain this air of, you know, of strength. And he gets to really be vulnerable with his family for a moment in a way that he was never able to be with his father, or his father never was with his children, with him and Graklim. And unfortunately, as we view that, we begin to, like, we're seeing it, but I think Duragrim is seeing it firsthand, right? He's like reliving it. We're seeing it like it's a movie, but he's seeing it, you know, firsthand. And as he looks down at Throry, you know, like she says something like, "Daddy, you know, what's wrong?" And he's like, "What do you mean, little pebble?" And he like looks, and Throry does not like look the same. There's like a fade, there's like a blur to like her, like she's there, but she's not really there. And he's like, "Throry? What's the matter?" And she's like, "What do you mean, Daddy?" But like the sound gets all warped and distorted, and like you see the flesh. It almost begins to look like sand, right? Like this beginning to like drip off of her form and like pool on her lap, which is being held in his lap, almost like the Thanos snap, right? Like when you're watching people dissipate into dust, and he's like holding her, but she's kind of like melting into sand, like in his hands, and it's sort of like, Throry, what's the matter? Throry, he looks, is Thrilrain, do something! And he like looks behind his shoulder, and like Thrilrain's like hands are like turning into sand like over his shoulders, and like the weight of her leaning on him is like becoming more dust and just like rolling over him. And he's like, what's going on? What? You know, and he's looking at his hands, and like they're becoming sand, and like his keep is sort of dissipating, and the entire memory, which is essentially what this is fading into nothingness, right? It is destabilizing, it is disintegrating in his mind, right? Like before his very eyes. And this goes on at torturous length, right? For like the entirety of his sleep, until it's nothing. Everything melts away. The keep, the fire, the holds around him, the mountain, and he's just sort of left with this vacuous black void that his mind now rests in. And when he wakes up the next morning, he sort of like wakes up in a cold sweat, you know? He jostles up and there's like, you know, sweat on his brow, and he's hyperventilating, and something feels wrong. Something feels like there's a hole in him now, but he can't remember why. And he knows that he only knows that he has lost something. He only knows that he has become something less. But he will never remember what it was. And that, I guess, is his blessing and his curse, right? Like, to lose that and then to never be able to understand what you've lost, I guess, is worse than knowing. But yeah, wow, that was a pretty big bummer, huh? So yes, he drank his potion, which means he had to lose a memory, And that was his memory that he had lost. The feelings of reconciling with his father in a way, and his family supporting him through that. That's rough. That's real depressing. All right, let's get out of that depressing mindset. I mean, I love it for story building purposes, but it is a damn depressing. So now we can start our new day. We know where we have to go. We know what we have to do. Now it's just a matter of getting there and figuring it out. I think there is one thing that I want to do while I'm here, and that is I want to loot. We are at a place, so like we presumably we left a ruin to find this hill which overlooked this town, right? So from my understanding, the ruins of the town that we dropped the scavenger in. So in my mind, this place has been unlooted by us yet. So we still have a chance to maybe find something good here. So loot. This lets you loot locations for items. You start with a D12 loot die, which steps down after each usage. To loot a place, roll your loot die and interpret the results. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to roll D12. A 6. That sounds pretty cool. You get a D6 depletable item. Okay. So I have to add this to my inventory. Items in inventory. So I'm going to say D6 depletable. I'm going to have to make this a little wider for once I figure out what it is. So what a depletable item is, so our axe gun is lasting, right? So as long as we are in control of Duragrim, even though the item can be reduced in effectiveness, right? That's kind of how the Breathless system works. You use an item, use a skill, it goes down a die step, and then once it hits a D4, it's like the lowest it can be, and then you just have to survive that way until you rest again, right? Depletable items, once they go below D4, they disappear or are broken or, you know, will need to be replenished in some way. So they're just like items, except they will eventually lose their luster. But we do find something which is pretty cool. Let's use the sparks again to help us determine what that is. I really love using the spark tables because it really just kind of lets you... Oh, I'm using the wrong document again. The sparks table just kind of... I love how evocative they are. It just gives you such an idea of... Avenged, help, forgave, destroyed, learned, protected. Okay, yeah, we can use these. Okay, so let's say we're gonna roll our 2d6. So we have a 3 and a 2, a 3 and a 2. Search. Okay, a search item. Search for... I'm gonna roll another thing here. Bum. A 4 and a 6. 4 and a 6. Search for forgiveness. Interesting, is an item. Search for forgiveness. So when I hear search for forgiveness, when I think of forgiveness, I think... Search, I'm thinking, is almost like a dowsing rod, right? Like it allows you to locate things. But forgiveness is interesting. I wonder, just to see, if you inverted these numbers, if it was 6 or 4, is that anything more evocative? Search for resilience. Search for resilience. It's either resilience or forgiveness. I want to say... Search for resilience is like alright, so I said dowsing rod. I almost imagine that this is like an ancient dwarven like item. It's like a steel rod, right? And when you point it at stone, it will sort of like come to you. If like it will find a way, like the earth will loosen if it is able to be moved. The stone will come to you, and you can like sort of it sort of becomes like an animate shield of rock. You know what I mean? Like it will draw to you, and then you can put it in the way of like incoming attacks. So it kind of creates like this temporary rock shield that will be able to defend you against oncoming assaults. You know, I think that's kind of fun. So it searches for a stone that's applicable, and then it grants you resilience from it. So I'm gonna say, what am I gonna call this? I'm gonna call this the guard stone. The guard stone rod is what I'm gonna call it. I'm actually gonna maybe reduce this font size a step, so that I can remember that this is search for resilience. There we go. All right, so we have an axe gun and a guard stone rod. Interesting. I like it. And that is a D6, so I can use that essentially D4. So I can use it like twice before it breaks, which is something, you know, I'm sure it'll come in handy. So I'm going to deplete my loot die down to D10 because I've depleted it by 1 use. So I think, yeah, Duragrim, you know, holds it over in his hand, he turns it around. He remembers like the wonders of the old dwarven runesmiths. It's probably, you know, covered in ancient dwarven script. Ooh, excuse me. And sort of like carved in such a way that it like resembles like a very stern, you know, dwarven face. Maybe like clutching like a rock like above their head, you know, like on either side. But yes. And then he slings it around his waist. He loads up his axe gun with that lever action that we talked about. He admires his handiwork about the runes he carved into it himself, because we did get to upgrade our axe gun last session, so it is a bit stronger and more fierce. And then we march ahead. So now we need to travel, and the game does have a system for travel. I just have to find it. Engage, listen in, be daring, communities, prices, bestiaries, tables and explore and travel. There we go. The game's core loop revolves around exploring the world as a group and letting the plot unfold over time. Journeying through the land, explore dungeons, salvage and sell your treasures, repeat. Okay. Oh, these are just the themes of traveling. This isn't actually the rules for travel. Oh, journey and travel. Explore, travel, and journey and travel. Okay, I knew it was something like that. Journeying allows you to figure out what are the key events that are worth expanding on when you travel from one distant location to another. The land is vast and traveling requires time, effort, or both. To find out what the key elements are in your journey, roll a die between D4 and D12 based on how far the final destination of your travels is, and interpret the results. Interesting. So then we have to figure out like sort of how long our journey is, which I guess we can use the Oracle. Okay, so I would say that it's very unlikely that that our destination is very close, because I mean that's just, you know, how the fiction is, right? It's never usually exactly where you want it to be. So if I say I'm gonna roll a D4 to ask, you know, is the location within a short journey from me? Roll a D4. 2. The answer is no. And okay, so is the journey within a medium length for me? I'll go up 1 dice to say unlikely, right? So it is a 3, which is the answer is yes, but. Ooh, yes, but. Okay, so it's a medium. So there are 2 events in my journey.
I have a journey die as well. I forgot about that. So it is a but. I'm gonna see on my quest here. So we're here, add a page. The journey. So the quest is a medium distance away, which are two events, but we got a but attached to it. I should probably make this text bigger so that everybody else can see at home. There we go. I think what I might do is here, I might roll a complication, because I haven't rolled a complication yet. So, whoop, complication. That'll help to determine what our but is, right? Complication. When looking for complications, use the following list to help spark some ideas. So I'm not too worried about mechanical based right now. Let's do a fiction based complication. So if you were careful, if you were forceful, if you were quick. I think we're planning a long journey, or a decently long journey. So I'm gonna say we were being careful, but something went wrong, right? So we're gonna roll a d8 for a 2. So we forgot a detail. Okay. It's a medium distance away, but complication, we forgot a detail. What is the detail that we forgot? Let's go back to Spark. Oh. I keep opening the player's guide when I want to look at the actual rulebook. Just because I love these sparks so much. What did we forget? What did we forget? We're gonna roll a D. We got a 2 and a 2. A serve. We forgot a detail. Serve. And then we're gonna roll another bump. A 5 and a 6. Legacy. A served, a legacy. Okay, here's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that we're traveling through an area in which, or we're going to be traveling through an area which, you know, someone or something there is in service to the old days, right? That maybe we feel like we have some sort of connection or obligation to, or maybe they even remember us, right? That can manifest itself in an interesting way as we head forward. So we'll see what that means. I'm going to leave it there for now, but serve legacy is our complication. Yeah, maybe like we are indebted to serve a legacy. We'll see. We still have to figure out what our journey looks like. But that is something I wanted to put on our radar, so that we know to return to it when the time feels right for the fiction. So then let's see. Oh, it was journey, right? Am I crazy? It was journey and travel. I know. I think the word journeying was, yeah. Although is that a typo? I feel like there should be a Y there. RPD, if you're seeing this, there might need to be a Y there. I'll have to double check that. Roll your journey die and interpret the results. Okay, so our journey die is a D12. Yes, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, which means I have to reduce it down to a D10. So for our first thing, we get a 4, which is there's an inconvenience on your journey. What is it? Okay, there's an inconvenience. Play out a short scene and use the result of your journey die as a basis to determine what the event in the journey looks like. When considering possible threats and inconveniences, think about the terrain and the weather of the region, as well as any kind of monuments, towns, cities, legions, and kingdoms that may be nearby. Threats and inconveniences should be narratively important to the overall journey and not just an encounter with random beasts. Okay.
So yeah, what is our... I feel like I'm gonna go back to the Sparks table for a second. Tables and guidelines. Because there are generators for NPCs, for communities as well. There's a lot of things, but oh, and weather. Oh, dang. There's so many exciting things to roll. Okay, so something happens in the way. It's a minor inconvenience, I think they said. See, look at me. I need like 3 of these. I need like 3 different copies of this rule book. There's an inconvenience that hinders your journey. Okay. Let's go with our sparks. And we have to keep in mind that something may happen with the serving of a legacy. It's an important thing to bear in mind. I'm gonna roll my d6. Oh, that's a d8. But 3 and a 2. 3 and a 2. Freedom. Ooh, interesting. Freedom of... Bum. Is that another 3 and a 2? That was wild. When does that ever happen? The same roll twice? Yeah, it was. 3 and a 2 is freedom. 3 and a 2. Wow, and this we got before. Searching for freedom. Ooh, okay. I think I see. I think, okay. I know what's happening. I know what's happening here. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my journey. I stepped down my die. Yeah. Let's go back to the quest. So we're on the journey. So event 1 is we are searching for freedom. Right? Searching for freedom. But the complication is serving a legacy. So I kind of feel like maybe there is, like, okay, so in the... Oh, I also want to roll where we are in terms of locations. So let's roll there. We are in a chaotic... Yeah, that makes sense for what I'm about to say. A chaotic plateau. Okay. A chaotic plateau. Is that me spelling that right? Hell yeah. Okay. So, here is what I'm seeing in my mind's eye. So, we know that the... Oh, okay. What should I say first to not give up my idea? It doesn't matter. Y'all are going to hear my idea anyway, right? You're literally watching this to hear what my idea is. Okay, so the dwarf holds on the surface, right? They survived the initial purge of life because of the demons coming up from the Mount Baram, right? But it didn't stop there. The demons came up and, you know, started laying waste to the surface world. They're not as prevalent here. But they still exist. Their influence certainly exists. What if some of the dwarves, like the old kingdoms that like fled to the surface, are like serving some of the demons? You know, they're like willing pawns in like the games of the underworld, so that like they will not, you know, they're sort of given power and allowed to like lord over their fellow dwarf kin, but like at the expense of sort of being pawns for the forces of hell. And there are like people who are like fleeing these occupied lands and these like evil dwarves, and perhaps there's even like freedom fighters. You know, there are liberators who are trying to fight back against like the oppressive yokes of these like evil, which is maybe another reason why, that's probably another reason why Duragrim is so compelled to find these artifacts, because he doesn't want them taken by these dwarves who have thrown their lot in with the demon spawn. You know what I mean? Like that is like sacrilege to him, is to let his people's history be claimed by these creatures, and they're now puppets. Okay, so he's on a journey. He's climbing this plateau. And we can hear like shouting, and we can hear like the clamoring of steel. And we duck down to try and avoid running into any danger. And we can see as we peer over a stone and sort of like peer up to the top of like where one of the plateaus is sort of like opening up on. We can see what appears to be sort of like this imperious legion of dwarves in this sinister black plate armor. You know, this is not the kind of armor that like the scavengers were wearing. These are like well forged. These are probably like forged with dwarven ingenuity, but like with like blackened steel from like, you know, touched by demon spawn, and it's all covered in spikes, and it looks edgy as hell, pun intended. And perhaps these dwarves are even marked in a way. Perhaps they have like burning brands, you know, on them that symbolize their the submission of their service and their souls to these like demon, you know, creatures. My question here is, because I think this is going to affect the scene, is there a demon present with the dwarf legion? You know, is there one like leading the pack? Are these just dwarves, or are these like evil dwarves too? We're gonna go to the Oracle. I'm gonna say it's likely. I'm gonna say it's pretty middle of the road in terms of possibility. So I'm gonna roll a d8. It's a 7, which is yes and. Oh no, yes and. Okay, so complication. A complication. If we were being careful, so we were trying to be careful. We were trying to hide. So I'm gonna roll another 7. We found the wrong person. Interesting. So there's a demon there, and they found the wrong person. So demon present, found the wrong person. Okay, so what I am hearing is that, yeah, we have this legion of dwarves. Oh, you know what? Also, I don't mean to interrupt myself, but I just realized one of my dreams of glory was to recover a dwarven artifact, and I did. I found the stone shield, the stone guard wand. So that is a thing I can say, which will probably change my dream of glory. And I kind of have a feeling I know where it's gonna go in this moment. But you know, we're feeling it out. So what are our advancements? Because it'd be nice to get an advancement before we end up getting into a fight. Advancements. We're gonna go to here. We roll a d20. A 9. Which is step up one of my skills. So before I stepped up one of my weapons. Now we want to step up one of our skills. So what do we want to step up? Where are my skills? Okay. Strength is at a D8. Willpower is at a D6. Oh, sorry, D4. Dexterity is at a D6. I'm kind of tempted to make my dexterity match my... It's either make my dexterity match my strength or my willpower match my dexterity. I mean, I feel like dexterity is the one that's going to make my gun work better, right? And I do have an axe gun, so I should probably be able to use it. So I'm going to say that. I'm going to say D8. D8. Okay. So I'm going to step up my dexterity. But, okay, so coming back to our fiction here. So we know that the demon is present, but they have found the wrong person. So what that sounds like to me is that there is a demon who is leading a... you know what I want to do as well? While I'm here? I want to kind of get an idea of what this demon looks like. What this demon... What's the vibe of this demon? Ooh, okay. There's so many... Is there a table to roll for... Oh, well, oh, look, they do. There's like... Oh, there's like a lot of varied... I forgot there was like so many descriptors for... Oh, that's great. I'm totally going to use all those. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to roll for this demon's... Yeah, I'm going to roll for like if it has like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, an alchemist. Okay. And now I'm going to roll for its frame. I'm just going to put together some descriptors here. Oh, no, we want it. Well, I'll say it's 4 anyway. So we have a solid and sturdy. Frame and head. Okay. Let's see. Let's this 11. Okay. And we're gonna roll one of these. 8. Okay. And we're gonna go with one of these. Okay. So this demon has like a narrow build. It's dressed. I think I rolled. Let me look at those options real quick. Oh, glamorously. That's right. It's glamorous. It is. 8 was righteous. Okay. So we have this narrow build, glamorous, righteous demon. And I also rolled alchemist. Okay. So what I'm hearing is it's sort of like this spindly, sort of like red-fleshed creature. Its body is very long and elongated. And it's wearing sort of robes. And like across its chest, there are like vials of like blood and like bone. Like it's an alchemist in the sense that it like collects living creatures to like do spell work, right? And by glamorous, I'm seeing like these horns that sort of rise up on its head, and it's like a crown. Like it looks very extravagant. And when I'm hearing righteous, I'm hearing like self-righteous. I'm hearing like sort of like proselytizing the power of like demon kind. Dr. Zachary, hey, thank you for chatting in. You're just joining when something's gonna happen here. And so you have, and this creature stands like, a head above some of the branded dwarves with their black iron, and they're all sort of shouting commands. Made my way over from the Fari Discord in the middle of my own game, but following for next time. Oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate you. Yes, please do follow. We're only on session 2 of this Tales of the Burned Stones playthrough, so you got tons more to see, and I appreciate you stopping by. And so this demon looks like I was already following. Oh, even better. We love return visitors. Yes, heart to you as well. Purple heart to you as well. So this demon, points one of its gnarled, clawed fingers down at a group of dwarves, who, they're covered in ash. They're like covering their faces to prevent them from breathing in all the dust and the ash. They're covered in soot. They're wearing like commoners' clothes, at the very least, like some maybe rough leathers to protect them from like wild animals and things like that. And you can see like the sort of lead demon, like tall and spindly but hunched over, sort of like points its finger down towards this group, and says,
Tell me, Tell me where the others are. Your feeble resistance. Reveal to me their location, or you shall suffer their ultimate fate.
And like, you know, is like hissing at them with these yellowed, sharp, gnashing teeth. And you can see the other dwarves are like raising their hands. We don't know. We don't know nothing. We apologize. We weren't running, and we swear we didn't know who you were. What?
Silence! I know that you fetid lot are conspirators with this foolish rebellion. You will unveil them, or you shall be slaughtered. You shall be made an unguent in the most vile of poisons to continue the death of your own brood.
And it's sort of like, you know, clutching the vials of like the poisons across their chest. No, please, you must listen. And you know, at this point, like the demon is pointing like over towards some of the dwarves at his side.
Take them into custody. Torture them, bind them, break them, until they speak plainly through their liars' tongues.
No, please, you know, and like the dwarf soldiers are drawing nearer. So I think this is now our and so this is where I'm saying they found the wrong person. I do not think that these dwarf commoners are actually liberators or freedom fighters. I think they are just like peasantry who are trying to eke out an existence on the countryside, but these fiendish legions are definitely under the assumption that they are not. So I guess this is where we come in, and we have to make a choice. Now, obviously, Duragrim does not like demons. That's kind of his whole thing. So I think this is a moment where, I mean, we have to intercede, right? Like, we can't just let these people be wrongly persecuted by, like, demons and, like, their minions. So we're gonna have to do something. Okay. So what it sounds like to me is that there's, like, a couple combatants in this. So there is, like, Duragrim, obviously. There is a demon, Chemister, I'm gonna say, and there is a demon sworn legion. It's a couple soldiers, right? These are the three participants. So there's us and them, essentially. And I'm gonna make us blue, because Duragrim is blue. Oh boy. Considering that we almost died when we were just trying to fight one bandit, I mean, this is obviously gonna suck. But we do have the upper hand here. So far we're hidden. Well, are we hidden? We don't really know. We're gonna say, are we hidden? I'm gonna ask the Oracle. I'm going to consult the Oracle. I'm gonna say that it is very likely that we're hidden because these creatures are very occupied. 8. Yes, and. Okay, so yes. Yes, and. So we are hidden, and I think the and is... you know, we have the drop on them if we want. We're going to have the advantage. We're going to have a good position. So I'm going to say position good. What is actually the position? There's specific... Oh, yeah, surprise. Oh no, wait, that's the surprise strike. That's actually what the bandit attacked us with. I know that there is a... Oh wait, I bet you it's on here as well. Position. Very likely risk Oracle. There it is. Yeah, we can roll twice and take the highest result, or roll one step higher. Okay, so here's what I think is going to happen. I think we have a good position here, but as our first action, I mean, we can technically do this because they haven't noticed us yet. I think what we're going to do is we're going to pop our Farsight potion, which sucks because that means we're going to lose a memory again when we sleep tonight. But it's like, what else are we going to do? We almost lost versus a bandit. So we're going to say we pop our Farsight potion. Okay. So that means ongoing after this, we're going to have an excellent position. Okay. So what happens? We're watching the demon bark commands at these commoners and riling up the troops to force them into custody. And we sort of put our backs against the stone, and we unlatch, the stone and steel. What's the word I want to use? The vessel. It's not like a potion vial. It is held in like a stone receptacle in our hands, and we're staring at it. And, I think there's a part of us who is still feeling that hole in our hearts, that hole in our mind that we woke up with this morning, and that cold feeling in our breast that a part of us is lesser now. And we know that if we put this to our lips, that it's only going to happen again. We know that. But the question is, like, what other choice do we have? Like, it's us or them, and what we can't remember, while it will hurt in the moment, like, it will be gone and we will remain. So I think one hand has our vessel, and the other hand wraps itself around the amulet of Thrill, Rain, and Throry around our neck, our wife and our child. And we try to plumb our mind for the first happy memory we can find. Something simple. We're eating a meal together. Throry's dancing around the hearth. Thrill Rain is singing her a song. And we just try to live in that moment for as long as we can, because that could be the one that's gone next. That could be the one that we lose. And we take a deep breath.
Well, for honor, for glory, for Thrill, Rain, and Throry,
we say under our breath as we tilt our head back and we drink a bit of our Farsight potion. And the black pools of our eyes, once again, those tiny white pinpricks, begin to glow and expand, and they absorb the whole of our socket until we have that, like, crystalline white opalescent gaze that begins to eke out smoke on either side, and all of the red and black and fiery cast that this world has been painted in dims and shifts and cools until we're seeing into this strange blue spirit realm projection around us. And we hold our axe gun, and the world is also moving more slowly, right? Because now our perceptions have changed. We hold our axe gun, we racket it up, and then we pop up from over the stone, spinning the axe gun into our hand as we lay the demon between our sights. Here's our axe gun. Here's Duragrim and the axe gun, and we place the demon in the sights, and we take our shots. So we're the one initiating combat. We have an excellent position. We are using our axe gun. I think, honestly, I'm also, for this attack, I'm gonna use our grit point. I know it's our first attack, but the demon's a very big threat, and I want to put as much damage on it as we can early before, like, something, really bad happens to us. Which actually brings me to, we kind of need bestiary. We kind of need stats for these creatures. So, there's a Spectre Demon, Grumio, Giant Spider Demon that hides in the shadows, waiting to pounce on Crimson Whispers. So these are all like sample enemies. I would say that if a group of soldiers is equal to a D8, resilience D8, then probably a single soldier, a single demon, a very powerful demon, is probably equivalent, right? Because in general, non-player characters are creatures made of a name, a strength rating, which represent how powerful they are, and a certain amount of resilience, 3, 5, 8, 13, or 21. So this is obviously not like a demon boss. This is like a commanding demon general kind of, or lieutenant kind of person. So I would say they're probably equivalent to the bandit, the group of soldiers. So they have resilience 3, and we'll generate for them some abilities as we play. And I think what we also need to do is maybe put on slightly more daring music now that we are about to initiate a combat. So let's go back to the quest. So they have a resilience of 8, and they have a strength of 8. And I think the same thing happens with the soldiers. When multiple targets gain a +1 hit to their attack rolls. Yeah. Trying to see if any of these. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna say resilience 8, strength 8. So they're roughly equivalent. But we are going to try to defeat their lord first. Alright, I'm going to burn the point of grit. And that means I get to roll twice and take the highest result because I have an excellent position. So I'm going to roll bum. Alright, so I'm very glad I rolled that because a 6 is a lot better than a 1. So I deal 3 hits worth of damage. Nice. So that is 7, 6, 5 on the demon Chemister. Okay, so yes, everything happening in slow motion. We pop up from behind the rock. We prime the axe gun as we release a shot. It belches forth a hail of leaded balls. You know, it's like a blunderbuss that's empowered with these like these alchemically enhanced, black powders. It fires forward. We see the demon sort of react in slow motion. It's like barking orders at the demon sworn legion. Get them, hold them. Turns around and as it like tears through its red scaly hide. Black ichor explodes out of the back of it and like tears through like the blackened shawl that it's like wearing over its body, and like staining the stone behind it. Immediately it sort of falls back, trying to like regain its footing and like clutches its chest as the wounds gape. Obviously a creature of this power is not felled by a single blow like that, but it is left reeling as it like lurches backward and then finds itself standing, one hand on its wounds. It like looks upwards, half incredulous and half like eyes of fire and fury as it narrows its gaze on Duragrim, who is standing behind the stones, like readying another blast from the axe gun. You sickening, vile wretch! You grub! Take him! Kill him! Now! And commands the legion as suddenly some of the soldiers, relinquish their wards over the captives and now wheel around in their black plate armor, holding their weapons and raising them high. And walking toward us. So, when it comes to combat, enemies do have to use an action to move toward us if they're far away, right? When we were dealing with our bandit, we sort of described us as already being encircled by them, so there really wasn't much of an action they had to take to move. But regularly, they have to use an action to move distances. So I think I'm going to have the Sworn Legion use their first initial movement to move closer to us, right? So right now we have the Demon Sworn Legion moving to melee Duragrim. So I'm going to make a note of that. So that is their action, which means they now popcorn action to whoever they see fit. So it's going to go back to the Demon Chemister. So the Demon Chemister is going to... There was a monster I saw that sounded like it kind of had a poison attack, which sounds like it would be befitting of a creature of this nature, bestiary. Yes. A venomous bite deals 2 hits every turn until cured, costs 1 energy. So instead of a bite, we can say that I want to say it's maybe like a thrown weapon, but maybe it won't hit. So maybe we have to decide if it hits first. And then if it does hit, we can say that, like, you know, it has this vial of like poisonous like liquid that it's cooked up, and it could perhaps, you know, keep burning at us. So let's roll for their attack. They roll a d8. Now, also, we are resistant to demon magics and attacks. That is one of our benefits, being a remnant. So I'm going to say they're going to roll twice and take the lowest. They have a bad position on this, given our particular benefit. So we're going to say d8, d8. Okay, a 4 is still 2 hits, which is unfortunate on us. So our resilience is 7, goes down to 2, and then we have 3 energy, and now the demon has 2 energy left, since it used one of its abilities. Oh, wait, but it has to use an action to use its ability, so it doesn't hit us initially. So we will be reduced to 5 on the next turn. So to make sure I'm reading this right. Venomous Bite deals 2 damage every turn until cured. So we're going to have to... So it's not a bite. Venomous Bile, I'll say. So yes, we'll say that the demon breaks something off of the bandolier where all the human bones and like blood and viscera is being stored, and breaks off what appears to be this bottle. It's sort of like blown in like an orange glass held together with like black metal, and on the inside it is like bubbling and broiling, and like that you can see there's like combustible gas, you know, riling inside of the container, as it narrows its eyes over Duragrim.
More of the resistance. You shall be burned away, purged from these lands forever!
And like lurches it in our direction. It smashes against the stone and explodes, and it is, you know, it is like hellfire in a bottle. It lurches out and it sprays against the rocks and instantly begins to melt them at a rate which fire should not be able to do. And it splatters against our cobalt blue skin, and normally this would just devour whole, you know, a mortal person. It would just engulf them and they would be incinerated in but moments. But even though we wince and we struggle against it, we are still resilient. We still manage to hold our own. Oh gosh, I have to adjust my footing. As it burns us almost at like less than what regular fire would be. Like we managed to sort of pat it down, and it compresses against our flesh, but it still burns. We do have to stop the burning, but it in no way takes us the way that a normal flame would. We're resilient to demon's fire, and so I think when the demon sees that too, you know, his eyes sort of widen. What sort of foul sorcery is? It's one of them. It is a remnant. Chop him down! Cut him to pieces! Do not let that witch spawn draw breath! And, you know, the dwarven demon sword leeches, as they, like, you know, rush forward. So now it's the Duragrim's turn again. Oh, boy, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? We have our other sight potion on. Do we want to worry about the Legion or the demons? Oh boy. But we also have to heal our wound. It stings us. I think we, until cured, deals 2 hits every turn until cured. Is that like, or like, do we even care about being cured because if we die, we just get resurrected anyway, right? Like, Oh, and we can catch our breath. This is tough. It's tough. Because we can really only do, at maximum, 3 hits worth of damage, right? So... So if we can survive 6-5, so we can survive 3 more turns without having to be worrying about permanently falling. Oh boy. Okay, here's what I'm gonna say. My current dream of glory is killing a demon. Because it is in our face, and that is glorious. So maybe we just, but now we're in melee with the dwarf armies. I think maybe we just have to fight the dwarves. We still have our Farsight potion on, so that does help us. Alright, let's take a look here. Our weapon is a D8, so is our strength. So either or can help us here. Alright. D6. We have to kind of battle with the Legion here. So I'm gonna roll 2d8. Ooh, I see a 6. That's pretty good. Which is you deal 3 hits. Okay. So, oh boy. All right, so the Legion approaches us. Ah, rah! They're roaring. They're holding their blackened steel weapons up. They're covered in spikes. Their eyes are burning with red fire. They have red brands upon their flesh, noting them as sworn to the demon cause. But we are watching them all, run at us in slow motion, and it becomes this, a not quite elegant dance, because Duragrim is far from elegant. He's an absolute box, a murder box of a man. But he can see them all where they intend to move moments before they do, flickers before they do. So, one, brings down a maul, and we, dodge to the side and, take a shot at him while they're slamming their weapon. As another one is throwing an axe at us, from the side, we turn our heads, we pull up our own axe gun and ping, deflect, the blade as we plunge down into a dwarf who is rushing us with a sword. And as the axe is still inside of the first dwarf, we and use them as a firing platform to fire into another dwarf that is rushing us. So we're just sort of reacting and acting against all of these dwarves in perfect step, and being able to avoid a lot of their attacks because of it, and we knock them down a peg to 5. But now they are in melee with us, so that means they can attack back. Now they are attacking at a D8, but they can group up. When multiple bandits attack the same person, they have a +1 hit to their attack rolls, and this costs them an energy. So we'll say their energy is down to 2. So they're attacking at a bad position, but they get a +1. That's how I'm reading that. So they have a D8, a D8. Oh boy, a 5. They deal 3 hits. Ugh. That brings us down to 2. Oh boy. And now they're trading that. They're trading that turn to the demon Chemister, who at this point, I will say, now that they've thrown one of their concoctions, I think now they approach us, and you can see they tear off one of their pouches as they begin to dump the solution across their hands, and as it falls through their fingers, you can see flames burn in their fingertips as they chemically empower their. Oh no, that's us that got reduced down to 2. They get chemically empowered by their dark powers. So we'll say that we'll take down their energy to 1. Oh, and that means that's a thing. So they cannot move forward yet, but they will be. So they're empowering their claws. And you can see a sick, toothy maw of a smile spreads across their features as their clawed hands, burn with newfound fire as they smile.
Don't you worry, Remnant. I'll cleave you from existence in but a moment.
So that was the dwarves attacking. That was the chemisters attacking. It's back to us. Oh, this isn't looking good. So now we go back to Duragrim. I think now maybe we use our strength, maybe? So I'm gonna roll D8 twice. Ugh. That is rough. We deal 1 hit against the killing a demon. So they're down to 5, down to 4. Oh, I don't think we're making it out of this one alive. I don't think we are. Because we're at 2 now, which means at the beginning of our next turn, we become vulnerable. Which the rules don't exactly state what that means. Like, it says we become vulnerable to being killed. I don't know if that means there's, like, a chance of us dying, but we also can't die. So, like, we'll just resurrect, but we'll lose a piece of our memory. It's a whole thing. But, oh boy, what happens here? So, the Legion attacks us. Oh, no, we were just attacking the Legion. That's right. But we are pretty outnumbered, right? So it is difficult to hold them all off, though we still are. So Duragrim is going to trade the turn back to the Legion, since that is simple enough. The Legion is going to attack with their... Oh, goodness. Pick a skill or item... So I think, yeah, I think that makes us vulnerable now. I'm not quite sure how to handle vulnerable, though. It just says we're vulnerable to being... You know what, I'm gonna say while we're vulnerable... Yeah, that's the only thing it says about vulnerable. It's gonna be willpower tests. I don't know if that's how it's actually run, because I don't see anything else about being vulnerable, but I'm going to say our willpower can perhaps allow us to hold on, right? If our willpower can match the damage that we're taking, we'll hold on, right? Okay, so now we're vulnerable. The demon is going to move into melee, which is its turn. And the, you know, the smile is spreading across its face. Are these should be, well, we'll take into that account. These should be fighting in a bad position since we have our potion on. I might no, I think I've been accounting for that. I think I've just been getting righteously unlucky. The demon smiles sickly as it approaches us, both of its arms outstretched, burning with fire.
I will take great pleasure in rending you limb from limb, remnant.
As it, like, the shadow of his body now, like, befalls us. And I think at this point... Duragrim, you know, his glory is to kill a demon, so I think now we just have to go whole hog on the demon spawn here. We're gonna roll twice. Two ones, huh? 2 1s on that. Jesus Christ. Flame Hands, we'll say gives a +1 to hit. This is brutal. I don't know if you're supposed to outnumber yourself in combat. Maybe that was my mistake. Maybe I should have just made them one fighter. But hey, what are you gonna do? Okay, so moved forward into melee. We just attacked. So now it is we just attacked Legion's turn. Legion's turn has a D8, which is a 3. So that is 2 hits. So let's roll our willpower, which is a D4. So we have to meet a, what did I say? Did I say a 3? I said 2 or 3. I can't remember. I'm going to say 2, just because we've been getting our ass handed to us this fight. And I'm gonna roll my d4 twice. Okay, there we go, 2. So we are vulnerable, but we are hanging on. And now it is the demon's turn. A 1. Deals 1 hit. We're gonna roll our willpower. Okay, we're holding on. So at this point, the demon, we're parrying blows, but for every blow we parry, we take a hit in the back. And once again, we don't bleed. There's just sort of like hollow, the sounds of perforated leather sort of echoes out of our empty body. And then we swing and we take a chunk out of one of the legionnaires, but then another one, bops us over the head with a hammer. And it's just over and over. Where every strike we get, we return one. And as we're like sort of reeling on the backs of our feet, we look up and we can see a flaming hand rain down and strike us across the front of our armor, and it sears through it and like cleaves into our flesh, and we release another yelp of pain as we like fall back, like clutching our axe gun to our chest, breathing heavily. Oh my god, I forgot we had that other item. Ooh, remember that we have the guard stone. That is very useful. Okay. As we like fall back and we look down at our armor being torn asunder, the demon just smiles at us as like the Legion forms, a little protective barrier around it.
Say your prayers to whatever misbegotten and fallen gods you once swore your lives to, foolish remnant. For today, I claim you in the name of the Nether Realms.
And then we're gonna go back to our turn. We're gonna roll our willpower to resist the poison, the fiery oil that has been like sprayed on us, and we're like gritting our teeth, and we're like struggling against the weight of all of these attacks, as we refuse to let go. We cock the rifle again.
I swear prayers to no one. I make peace with nothing. The only thing I hope for is your cracked skull.
It's like we aim our gun at the demon, whose eyes widen in surprise as we refuse to relent. Let us see here. We are going to use our what's left? What do we have left? We have our dexterity is still high. Oh no, the dexterity should be down 1 because we've shot at least once. Let's shoot again. It's what we've got. Or is what's higher, the gun or the... No, it's both the same. A 5? Okay. We deal 3 hits to the demon. Where's our quest? Oh my god, the demon is down to 1 health. Okay, so now it is the demon's turn. All right, so we... we tear out more chunks of it as it splatters against the rock. More black ichor leaks from his wounds. The demon has almost been slain, but with more rage, it glowers at us.
Even if you slay this mortal vessel, I shall return. I cannot be purged here. You fight in vain.
And, Duragrim just sort of smiles under his breath.
Funny. I was about to say the same thing.
As the demon, in frustration, and just, releases, a bellow of fiery breath in our direction. Oh my god, okay. So it got a 1 altogether. I'm going to roll our willpower. I don't think we can lose that, really, as long as you roll anything above. Yeah. Okay, so we're still holding firm. We're still holding firm. We hold up our hand, and our blue demon spawn resistant flesh. You know, you can almost see the flames like part around us. There's our cold aura that we give off is like parting the flames on either side. Some of it still licks at us and burns us and singes us, but not to the extent that the demon would normally expect its hellfire breath to have on a mortal body. Now we're gonna have the warriors attack. A 2, which is 1 hit. Or should I use... Is there anything I can do here? Alright, here's what I'm going to do. Instead of rolling that, I'm going to use our guard stone. It's slightly higher. It's a D6. Okay. Yeah, a 5 would be 2 hits, which is enough to the 1 wouldn't have saved us, but the guard stone does. So as the soldiers are rushing us and like through the hellfire, right? Like you can see their silhouettes appearing from behind the fire. We reach into our belt. And almost like a magnet, you know, the rod points in the direction of a stone that like one of the refugees is like trying to take cover behind, and they let out a yelp of surprise, like, oh, as like the stone raises above their head, and like we hold it towards us, and the stone levitates in midair and then, you know, like swings down and then places itself in front of us. As the soldiers like try to swing, and now they're like trying to chop through the rock, and the flame is bouncing off of the stone. Oh god, we're really using every resource at our disposal here to try and survive this fight. So he blew breath. They tried to attack us. It goes back to us. I'm gonna roll this, our resilience. I'm sorry, our willpower to see if we fight beyond the poison. We do, but now we have to attack. We just have to kill this demon to get our glory. We just have to kill this demon to get our glory. What are we doing with it? How are we doing it? Our next best thing is our strength. This is down to 2. Boy, oh boy. I'm going to say... Yeah, I mean, we might as well use this, the last bit of strength that we have. Oh, and we can actually use that. Can we use that narratively? I think we can use that narratively with our item without depleting a use of it. Like, because the item's already being in effect. Do you know what I mean? So if we use our strength with it... Well, you know what? I only need to deal 1 damage. So I will keep strength up. And I will use the final piece of our guard stone. So it was being held aloft in front of us, right? Parting all the fire. We are going to, like, inverse the polarity of the guard stone, right? So we're, like, holding the stone aloft in front of us as the demon is, like, and, like, breathing fire. And, like, we're using we're holding the stone upward and, like, parting the fire against the rock. We're going to release the polarity so the rock fires in the opposite direction, probably knocks through a couple of the soldiers as it flies full speed dead ahead towards the demon's open maw, right, like at its face. So now we're going to roll 2d4. 3 is 2 hits. That's all I needed, baby. That is all I needed. to reduce this demon down to 0. Oh god, okay. So the demon is the demon's like opening its maw. The stone swings back in his direction. His eyes widen for a second as you can hear sort of exasperated hot, but it's too late. The rock just like pile drives into his skull. You hear like a sickening squelch. There's an explosion of oily black ichor in all directions as the head is capsized by the immense force of this boulder being redirected at the demon's face. The demon's body is like lifted into the air. It falls onto the ground. And you can see like the blood, the black ichor beginning to pool around it. But then its body kind of like melts and like absorbs into the pool of darkness as like its clothes begins to like disintegrate and like turn into like a black smoke, and like the ichor like shrinks down as the smoke plumes up into the air. Well, actually, it plumes up in the air and then like rejoins. You can see the smoke kind of leaning towards like the belching mouth of Mount Baram, like the volcano in the distance, and you can almost hear a self-satisfied like echo from the smoke as it snakes its way towards the volcano. So we killed the demon, but we still have the Legion to deal with, and we're fighting. We're fighting a lot here to stay alive. So what are they gonna do? Their boss has just been knocked down. So they have 2 energy left. They're gonna try to use another energy to attack me in a group. They have to roll with... this might be the end of us. They have to roll with disadvantage, but they still rolled a 7, which is 3 hits. So we have to roll either a 3 or a 4 on our willpower, or else we're done. Here we go. 1, 3. Oh, wait. No, 3 is still only 2 hits. Because they dealt 3 to us, right? Well, I think what happens here is we fire, we fire the blast, we see the demon die, and our body is just completely destroyed. Our body is just, it's burning, it's battered, it's broken, and we can see, like, we're feeling light now, and our vision's beginning, like, the blue is starting to fade, and it's beginning to turn yellow as, like, the orange and the red is returning to the world as our potion is beginning to, like, fail us. As we, like, turn our heads over toward the refugees who are, standing there sort of dumbfounded. And as we are watching the soldiers approach us with their weapons held high, like they're starting off really slow, but we can see their movement returning to like normal pace, and like their voices going from like I'll kill you, like returning to normal speed. We like look over towards the refugees, and sort of like our last words to them as like our body is like barely standing is,
"Run."
Or should I say,
"Fly, ye fools."
And as that moment lands, we are just like riddled with blackened steel. Our body is completely capsized under the weight of the remaining Legion, as our body is laid low and we are defeated. Which I'll put us back onto our chill music there for a moment. So what happens narratively from here? So as a remnant, we cannot die. Right? As a remnant, that's part of our lore. We cannot die, losing more of ourselves after each reawakening. So our body will be destroyed now, much like the demons was. But we're gonna come back. Somehow, some way, we're gonna come back. And we'll figure out how that is. I think next stream, we've been going for 2.5 hours, so I think we'll leave that mystery for the next time around. But I mean, we don't know what happens. We don't know what happens to the refugees. Maybe they're reclaimed by the soldiers. Maybe they're not. But we do know that we're gonna lose another memory. We're gonna lose another piece of ourselves. So we'll have to roleplay that next time too. The loss of a memory, the loss of a core essence, a part of our humanity, or dwarf-manity. Wow, that was a wild fight. I don't know if you're supposed to fight more creatures than there are people. I'll have to keep that in mind. And I also don't know how vulnerability works. I think I hand-waved a good rule where it's based off of our willpower to keep fighting. I like it. But that definitely means I might need to upgrade my willpower for future fights to increase our chance of fighting beyond death there. But gosh, we were poisoned. We were like chemically burned. We were being sliced up with flaming claws, battered by warriors. I mean, there's a lot. But hey, we'll live to fight another day. We'll just be the worse for wear. We did claim our dream of glory, however, before we were felled, which means we do get an advancement. So I'm going to take a look into that advancement table right now. Where are the advancements? Okay, there we go. And let's go here. 20. Choose as you wish. Well, I mean, that I would have loved to have some of these beforehand. So let's see. We can step up a weapon. We can step up a skill. We can gain resilience. We can gain more resilience. Ooh. Unlock a new ability, design a new ability. Oh, those are both good. Unlock abilities and gaining more resilience are both good. I would love to get an ability, but I feel kind of like if I take the resilience, that's like the best in terms of survivability. Let's take a look here. Or I could get healer. I like seer. I think this makes sense with the Farsight ability. You may instantly kill someone provided they don't know where you are and it isn't too big of an opposition. I mean, that would have been useful for like the thing we were doing. Creator. I don't think Druid fits us. Commander, Spotter. Bullseye. I think I'm gonna take the resilience. Where's my stats here? I'm gonna take the resilience for now. Because, I mean, yeah, that's just gonna be very handy all around. I am tempted to take an ability, but if we would have had 2 more health, we might have survived that fight. So, you know, it's just good to have for the future. And I think that is where we'll end it here. Now, I'm looking at the other abilities, and now that I'm looking at it, I don't think I'm using my ability correctly. Well, because it says, when you try to achieve something out of the ordinary by drinking one of your concoctions, roll with an excellent position. Which to me is like I use an, in my mind, it's like I use an energy to drink my potion, and by achieve something out of the ordinary, I'm imagining that's like win a fight, right? Because it doesn't make sense if the potion just lasts like a second, you know? I understand, like, narratively, if I'm in like a cave or something, you know, I can drink it and like it maybe lasts a couple minutes, but like that's like D&D rules, right? Like a minute in a fight is like forever versus like a minute in a dungeon is very short. But a lot of the other abilities are all about giving you excellent positions on things, which I'm kind of treating Brewer as in like I always kind of have an excellent position because I can see them move more slowly and things like that, which makes sense to me, but it does kind of invalidate a lot of the other abilities that aren't based off of position. I don't know. So I might be doing that wrong. But it also doesn't make sense to me that every time, because also that's an action in combat, right, is using an ability. So that's like every action I'm like drinking and then I'm wasting my turn and then I attack once and then my powers fade and then I drink again. It just like doesn't make sense to me action economy wise in terms of like how that fight went, right? Imagine if I had to do that between every fight. Granted, I still lost the fight, but I probably would have lost like a lot earlier, you know? So I don't know. That's how I'm going to rule it for now. If anyone here is super familiar with the Breathless system and or this game, and they're like, it doesn't seem right, let me know. I mean, granted, if it isn't right, I was still using like the most broken version of the ability and still lost the fight. So like, you know, doesn't mean you're automatically going to win even if you have a really good power. But, you know, just something to bear in mind. All right, so that was our session tonight. Oh, that was really rough. Like, we just set off on our journey, and the first thing we do is we run into a demon and a legion, and we get our ass handed to us. That's rough. And now we're going to have to lose a memory again. We're going to have to lose 2 memories, because we lose a memory. I'm going to write a note there. So, to do... I'm going to write... New section... rename... To do for next game. We are... I'm sorry, to do list. So we are losing a memory to death. We are losing a memory to the potion. We need a new dream of glory. And yeah, I think that's it. For all the bookkeeping for next time around. I don't know, it's like maybe it isn't so much a, well, we lose something of us. I mean, a memory makes the most sense. It's kind of weird to lose 2 memories at once. I don't know what that is exactly. I mean, maybe I'll just narrate 2 memories. I don't know. But yeah. That's it for now, I think. All right. Let's go back to just chat. That's working. Yeah, that is working just fine. Let me put us back on performance mode. Thank you all once again for stopping by and watching the stream. I have been your host and Dungeon Master, Wolfe Scott. A pleasure to have you here with us. What is Level 1 Adventuring if you are not aware? We are a tabletop role-playing game stream. We run everything from small, intimate solo projects like tonight you just watched Tales of the Burned Stones by farirpgs, and that game will be available in the summer. It is free. It is a prequel to another great farirpgs game called STONEBURNER, and that information is available in the Twitch chat here, and it will be made available on the YouTube when it goes live. We also run big games like D&D. We run digital RPGs. We're going to be running some play-by-post D&D and other RPGs in our Discord, so please go there if you want to play some games and learn a new game community. We'd be happy to have you. Also, follow us on all the other platforms. Our YouTube is growing, and they just lowered the requirements to get like monetized on YouTube, so we'd very much appreciate a follow there. It would very much help us out. And thank you to everybody who makes the stream possible. Tabletop Audio for the music, StreamLabs and StreamSpell for all the digital elements, and our AI Twitch bot companion, which keeps people entertained. thank you for all of that. There's links into all of that also down below. So if you want to use them for your stream, you can benefit from them, and then we'll benefit from you using our code. So we appreciate you for that as well. Once again, shout out to RPD of farirpgs and everyone who's coming from the farirpg Discord. RPD, you're a wonderful author of games. This is so fun. I love the Breathless system. I definitely want to rip it off or something because it is so great and very applicable for solo games. And Tales of the Burnstone is awesome. I'm definitely going to want to play Stoneburner after this, like the what happens after whatever happens with Duragrim, right? But as always, your time, energy, attention is so appreciated here. Thank you for all of the new followers, the chatters, the subs we've had the past couple streams. You mean the world to us. And I don't think you'll be seeing me until next week. I think I got some stuff coming up later on in this week, personal-wise. So I don't think you'll be seeing me until next week, but hopefully we'll have a D&D game. I'll double-check the availability of my party members. But if not, I think we'll just keep plugging along with Tales of the Burnstones until we reach the inevitable conclusion. And then we'll go back to one of our other playthroughs. Maybe we'll finish up Firelight, since that's another farirpg game which we are still in the middle of, right? But you've all been wonderful. I have my finger hovering over the outro button, which is why I keep looking over here, because I always misclick it. But can't wait to talk to you next time. Enjoy the rest of your night. We'll see you then, and until then, adventure well. I was gonna say be well and have an adventure, but adventure well. That's the new catchphrase. I'll see you later, folks. Bye.